How do you manage in the sudden die of yours affiliate of 19-year? How was the issue cladding Gary Andrews, 57, while his 41-year-old woman Joy dead abruptly nearly a year back? Above the recent 12 months he has found how, for him, the reply is doodling, a blockhead a day to be accurate. In a digital age he says he skipped the scrape of pen on documents so done it a addiction, recent item at overnight, to do a slight thumbnail relying on thing how had happened how date. Yet, it took on added importance while his woman, in whom he lived in Surrey on in their two family, dead of septicemia. These were his at first doodles next her die on October 27, his 1 week had begun in his woman flapping him off at Heathrow Airport on a Monday for a job travel to Canada. Following a few days of sense ill in influenza-like symptoms, Joy was undertaken to clinic on the Thursday in a suspected renal contagion but her state degraded quickly. On the Friday at 3:15 she died of repeated body fail inflicted by septicemia. Gary, in the leaving hall in Vancouver wait for an disaster flying household, was said while he landing behind in the UK. He had lost the female he had been marital to for 13 years, the man he describes as his top boyfriend, and the mom of his two family, Lilia, later 10, and Ben, later 7. The doodles were thing they utilized to stake along. While Joy dead it became a shape of treatment for me, he says. I mind I've got to hold it departure since we utilized to see at it each overnight, so following she dead I wasn't departure to halt since he's who I am and it helps me believe on which happened how date. They frequently characteristic pleasures present and he says he finds it consolation, quite rather than hard, to paint her. I shut my eyes and I see her, he says. She's really this in our lives all the period, in our conversations, so figure her fair feels very nature. I've painted her for the recent 20 year. One figure that holds a especially powerful ram for him is the one he did on the day of the rite they detained to commemorate her lifetime. How's the just one I've always made wherever I've had to paint it via burst into tears, he says. I believe I cried the entire period I was figure it, but it necessary to be made. As he share his doodles on public print, his household and friends were capable to hold path of how he was mastering next pleasures die. They favorite it since it showed them wherever I was, my country of reason, he says. It was else way of communicating. A telephone urge would frequently pursue if he located a pair in a row that done them worry about. He says out of doodling, he wouldn't include had an outlet opening for his thoughts. This large item on the blockhead is one day he's downward on the document, the mind is of thou ve got it out and can let it go. If he's a sorrowful, adverse mind, I get it downward, I get it of. It type of releases it, and later you can go at. The doodles, that he draws in notebooks stored in chronology procedure on a shelf, include as well been therapy for his family who he says loving vision them. Lilia will choose them off the shelf and go via the old ones. He's beautiful how they can see behind at it and use it as a ram. They laughter at the fun things they've made and they see the pictures of mother. He sees it as essential to paper the fun moments in lifetime as it is the acute occasions. It might fair be a day wherever my son says things silly, and how will go in the blockhead, he says. He's essential to be capable to laughter via sorrow. Lifetime does go on, it has to. It has to be as stupid and fun as it one day was. Human beings who are in a such ship are vision me compose material, paint material, how relates to thing event in their lifetime that perhaps they refuge deep incapable to articulate, he says. Or they see thing how's been event to them and understand they're not one in sense how. I had the top relation, he says. We had 19 fabulous year. I was the luckiest boy. The world solved I wasn't departure to get how any much longer but several nice has to go out of he. So as the anniversary date of his woman's die approaches, will Gary be capable to hold making a blockhead a date? This cooperation in human beings has been beautiful, he says. He's pleasant to aware how down there is a society out down there, several of whom are take convenience in it. I can see why I would wish to halt. I loving making it. I loving setting my day on a chunk of document. Septicemia is caused by infections, but is in fact a issue in our own immunity framework. Departure in drive. As the state develops, symptoms may deteriorate and several more than distinguishing precautionary signs or scarlet flags can come. These differ of patient to patient, but following discussions in septicemia survivors, the UK Septicemia Confidence has drawn up a listing of the 6 largest overall signs. They involve